Hey, yo, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This is not a podcast. It's just my thoughts with Rob Markman. And I got some thoughts today. Pardon me if I sound a little nasally still. I'm a little bit under the weather. My trip back from ATL, I was just like a little cold or something. Nothing too serious. But yeah, man, I got a lot of thoughts. I got a lot of feelings today. Earlier this week, MTVnews.com, the website, was pulled off of the internet. All right. It's pulled off of the internet. All the content, the videos, the articles, gone, right? Variety reported the news on Monday. This was the next step after MTV News was shut down by their parent company, Paramount Global. So, last year they reported that they were shutting down MTV News. And, you had to have known that the site coming down off the internet was imminent. It would have been nice to get some warning, to get an actual date to know so people could prepare, but still crazy nonetheless. So now when you go to mtvnews.com or you go to a specific article or something, you're just redirected to the MTV website, which is like Teen Mom, ridiculousness, whatever their programming is far from music or the music television, at least that I grew up on. And I understand that they had to pivot. Even when I was there, it was tough because all of the music stuff was mostly regulated to online. So the music stuff didn't even happen on TV as often. If y'all remember, and I'm gonna get into this, but if y'all remember my Kendrick Lamar To Pimp a Butterfly interview in 2015, like as soon as I was done with that interview, I'm like, yo, can we air this on TV? And they practically, like, it was a chuckle, like, nah, like, what are you talking about? Like, this is for online only. I'm like, nah, but this is an important interview. And what happened was, shout out to my man Yomi, you know what I'm saying? Yomi was running MTV Jams at the time. And he said, well, I can't air it on MTV proper, but I'll air it on MTV Jams uninterrupted. So it actually aired on TV, but it aired on MTV Jams. It mostly lives online. And that video is still on YouTube. I'll explain later. But basically, the background is I worked from MTV News from 2011 to 2015. And it was a huge part of my career. Is when I took the step from a print journalist because, I was working at Double XL before that, right? We talked about this. Y'all know my story. Print was just going away. Like, you know what I'm saying? Magazines were shutting down. There was less and less opportunity in print. The whole game was going digital because that's where the money was going. That's where the advertisers were going to. So I went to MTV and I learned a lot. I learned how to report online. And MTV too, I also got to say, was a newsroom. It was a real newsroom. We had a full staff of writers, editors. Things were fact checked. During breaking news situations, we had to come back to the office. We sourced information from lawyers and police departments. We read through police reports and legal documents to make sure our reporting was on point, as well as we profiled artists, and there were a lot of fun pieces too. Like, I'll just give you an example. I remember back in 2013, TMZ had reported that Lil Wayne was in the hospital, which he was. That was a fact, and that he was being read his last rites. Now, when they're about to read you your last rites, that you're on your deathbed, and like that was scary. So this would happen maybe about 7-8 o'clock in the evening that this story broke, and I was out at a bar drinking after work with a couple of coworkers, and we saw that, and I'm like, oh, I got to go back to the office and figure this out. Like, one, just like I knew Wayne. I had like a reporter artist relationship with Wayne. Me and Wayne had talked several times. So, and then I'm a fan. So I'm like, first of all, wow, this is crazy. But now I got to get to work. So I remember I don't even drink coffee. I remember going to drink coffee to sober up. I remember like washing my face and then going back to the office and getting on the phone. And, eventually I was able to get to a source very close to Wayne. I still won't reveal my source. That became a big thing. Like, well, who was your source? I know who my source was, and it was a legitimate source. It was a very real source who had told me, nah, that it's not true, that Wayne was in the hospital, but he's doing fine. He's alert. He was watching like a basketball game or something. And people kind of came at me, well, who's your source? Because, TMZ rarely, if ever, gets it wrong. And that was a big thing. But that was like real, like journalism, like going on or whatever. So MTV was that, right? Like, it was a real newsroom. I remember when Whitney Houston died, everybody on the weekend, like coming into the office, whenever it was breaking news, man, it was all hands on deck. The other day A couple weeks ago, I was with Joey Badass. He has this Impact Mentorship Summit, and he and I were talking on a panel with 19 Keys as well. And in front of a crowd full of people, Joey had told people that it was me who gave him his first interview. He was like, "Dog, you were the first one to interview me." And this is when I was at MTV. And he was like, "What made you believe in me to want to interview me and have me on MTV?" And I got a little emotional then, because I'm like, damn, wow, that's great. Like, you never know how much that means. And it was a profile. It was just like introducing this new artist, Joey Badass, who I think is dope, who I think y'all think is dope too. And yeah. And now that's gone. So like thinking about that, even just what that meant to Joey, what that meant to me, to be the first to interview him and have his career blossom and him make full on promise of that potential, it's like that's gone. That's off the website now. You know, we also used to have this show called Rap Fix Live that Sway, and I'm just talking about when I was there because MTV has a long history outside of me. But I'm just talking about the stuff that I know that I was there firsthand. We had a show called Rap Fix Live. Sway was the host. Nadeska from Apple Music was the co-host. I sometimes there was a portion of the show where I did a news segment, but I also helped produce that show behind the scenes. I helped book artists for that show. I helped just prepare and overall get that show off the ground and then promote it once it was out. All of that is gone. Like there was so many classic interviews with so many artists. You know, we used to do Hottest MCs, which is still a blueprint, I think, for how people discuss lists and rank lists online. Like it's still in the DNA. Obviously, lists existed before Hottest MCs. I'm not saying that, but I think the spirit of that discussion is in the DNA of a lot of stuff that you see online now when we discuss power rankings of artists. All that is gone. I'm talking about interviews with the late Mac Miller, pre Blue Slide Park. And then when Blue Slide Park dropped, we went to Pittsburgh and did a whole week on Pittsburgh, and we went to Blue Slide Park and we filmed Mac in Blue Slide Park. Like all of this is gone. Like this is history. This is our culture. This is our documentation. When Nipsey Hussle, if y'all remember back when he sold his Crenshaw mixtape for $100, I set up numerous interviews with Nipsey for MTV News because I remember being online. A lot of people like, who does he think he is? Like that was such a crazy idea. Who nobody's gonna buy a mixtape for $100. What they didn't tell you was there was a meet and greet with that $100. There was a ticket to a concert. There was a bottle of champagne. Nip gave you value, but regardless, if he just wanted to charge $100 for the mixtape and his fans wanted to pay it, who was anybody to say anything? I remember him facing a lot of criticism, but thinking, yo, this is such a revolutionary idea. We set up interviews with him for MTV News. All of that is gone. I did a piece. Look, I even show y'all. Nip gave this to me himself. What we did was, when Nip was promoting Crenshaw, he came to New York, and I was like, yo, let's do a content piece on you where I give you, we go on a shopping spree at a record store, at a vinyl store, and you buy $100 worth of music. So it's basically like Nipsey showing us who he's a fan of. If he had $100, who would he spend $100 on? So he bought a bunch of records, and in exchange for paying for his records, he gave me this CD, and we did an exchange. But that was on video. That's gone. Rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. Like that's gone. Like that. Like it was great content. Kendrick Lamar in the lead up to Section 80. There's a whole interview there that's gone. Kendrick Lamar interviews days before Good Kid, Mad City dropped. I was out in Vegas. He was doing the Heart. I think it was 3. Whatever was the Heart that came out before Good Kid, Mad City. I'm in the studio while he's recording that, and I had to beg MTV to let me bring one of the cameramen with me because they had to pay him overtime. I'm like, and they were like, well, why are we gonna pay overtime for Kendrick Lamar? Because he wasn't on the higher ups, wasn't on their radar yet. Nah, this is gonna be important. And you know, the cameraman wanted to come. My man James Lucina, man, shout out to James. He wanted to come, but he needed his boss to sign off on it because they needed to pay him the overtime. But we finally got it approved, and we're in the studio in Vegas with Kendrick while he's doing the Heart and interviewing him. Just days before Good Kid, Mad City, days before everything changed. Yo, that's gone. You know what I'm saying? Thankfully now the To Pimp a Butterfly interviews are still up because those are on YouTube. MTV had their own video player, and which never really worked right. And they insisted on putting all of our interviews in their own video player. So anything that exists in that video player is gone. At the time of To Pimp a Butterfly, I begged them we got to put this on YouTube. We got to show this to a wider audience. And they agreed. So that's still up on YouTube, but who knows for how long. And this is just me talking about the era of the stuff that I did, right? And I'm just scratching the surface. But MTV News has been around since the 90s. So I'm talking about documentation of all types of stuff. Like, shout out to Shaheem Reed and Ramon Dukes when Jam Master Jay was murdered. I mean, they were all over that reporting on his murder, really up until a couple of years, like really on the ground, like trying to figure out who killed Jam Master Jay. The Shine trial, all the bombshell moments in hip hop. MTV News was there. And again, I'm just talking about hip hop, like these other genres as well, but like the work that Sway did, that Shaheem Reed did, that Ramon Dukes did, Sean Lee, Rebecca Thomas, Jason Rodriguez, Stephen Roberts. I hate shouting people out because there's so many people. There's a ton of people, and I'm gonna miss somebody. And that's just on the hip hop R&B side. We're not just talk. When you talk about the rock side, the pop side, all the reporting about the rise of K-pop in the U.S., like documentation, like all of that work is gone. And it's sad in two ways. It's sad to me because when I was writing in these magazines, these don't go away. Like this is, God forbid if I lose it or, but these don't go away. Like these don't go away. This is here. This is documented proof of what we did. This is documented proof of the stories that we told. This is documented proof of the conversations that we had. And these are here. You know what I'm saying? When it's in print. When it's in digital, somebody could just pull the plug and it's gone like it never happened. So for one, what about the work that all of the writers, all of the producers, all of the editors, all the whole staff for decades and decades put in? The work, they have nothing to show for it anymore. Their work is gone. Like that's crazy. That's a crazy feeling. Like right now, that's a crazy feeling for me. And it makes me upset. Beyond that, even greater than that, is what about the generations? What about the folks who weren't there, who have to go back and research what happened? What actually happened? What was actually said? What was actually going on? Like that's documented proof. So now our future generations lose access to that information and it just becomes hearsay. You don't believe me? Like go to Wikipedia. Look at how many Wikipedia and specifically in the hip hop case, right? Like, cause that's what I can talk about the most. Even though when I was at MTV, I interviewed Miley Cyrus, Lady Gaga, Katy Perry. I did all that too. But look at how many Wikipedia footnotes redirect back to an MTV News article. And Wikipedia is not the most accurate source. It's crowdsourced, but they get the information from somewhere and then give you a synthesized version of that, right? Tremendous resource. Look at how many times MTV News is sourced in Wikipedia. That's gone. What happens when you lose access to that information? Who gets to tell our stories? You know what I'm saying? How does the next generation learn about what we've been through, where we've gone through, how we got up to this point? Like it's all tremendously important. And, this is the reason why I'm doing these YouTubes now. This is not production wise, right? I'm doing it myself. I told y'all this. I'm shooting myself. I'm lighting it myself. I'm editing it myself. I'm posting it myself. This doesn't compare to the productions I was doing when I was at MTV because, the resources are better. Doesn't look as pretty. You know what I mean? Doesn't look as nice. Even the stuff I was doing at Genius, whatever, right? But it's mine. It's ours. Like I come from the culture. Like it's time for all of us. It's not just me. It's not about me, but to build our own. Because at the end of the day, they never really cared. It was a business. It wasn't about documenting culture. It wasn't about preserving time. It wasn't about telling the stories in the most accurate way. Yes, those of us who are on the ground, that's what we were in it for. But all the way at the top, it's a business. So when they can no longer sell ads against those web pages, when the cost to store all of that information becomes greater than the money that they can make off of those pages, they're going to pull the plug. It's a business decision. You know what I'm saying? And the culture suffers. the generation suffers. Like when we lose information, like it's just crazy, man. This is our history. This is our culture. This is what we love. And yes, it's entertainment, but it's our lives too. You know what I'm saying? I just think we definitely have to think about digital, and how to preserve, because there's so much of it. We definitely have to think about, myself as somebody who is in this industry, in media. I'm talking about myself, the B-Dots of the world, the Sways of the world, the Elliot Wilsons of the world, um, you know, down to Charlemagne, to, you know what I'm saying? Like, just Joe Budden, whoever you listen to, Academics, Adam 22, Vlad, whoever you listen to, whoever you tune into, how to preserve this, you know what I'm saying? And some of us more than others, like we can't rely on these big companies to tell our stories, because when it no longer makes business sense, they're out. It's up to us to figure out. That's where I'm at in this point. That's why I'm doing these videos. I've had shows on MTV. I've had shows on Amazon. I've had shows on Genius. And when they want to divest, when they want to save a little bit of money, cut the bottom line, these are the first things to go. So what happens? Our stuff doesn't get documented. Nah, we got to figure out a way. I don't have the answer all the way. Well, I know where to go. I know what we have to do. For me, is just to start. These videos are just to start. But yeah, that's my rant. That's my thing. Sorry if it was long winded. Y'all know I'm long winded as fuck. But the MTV News thing is horrible. It breaks my heart. I think we lost so much, not just for the work that I put in. That's one part of it. But the big part of it is how much we lost as a culture, how much documentation we lost. I think it is going to be super harmful in the long run. And, it's going to force a lot of us to figure out, how do we document, how do we storytell, how do we preserve for future generations. So these are just my thoughts. Like, subscribe, comment, you know the deal. I'm with you in the comments. We could talk about it, all right? Peace.